Okay, if you identify as a fellow overthinker, if you spend a lot of time in your head analyzing, replaying things, planning, worrying, or even just second guessing yourself, this video might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but in the best way possible, I promise. Because today I'm not going to talk about, overthinking being a bad habit that you should simply drop. I just want to show you what it's costing you. Now, not to scare you, not to shame you, but because we sometimes stay stuck in a pattern simply because we don't realize the silent price that we're paying for it. And I always say, awareness is the first key to change. And overthinking has a much higher price tag than most people ever acknowledge or even realize or talk about. So I want to gently look at that together. So the first thing that I want to normalize, okay, we overthinkers, we overthink because we care. We want to make the right decisions. We don't want to mess up. We don't want to disappoint anyone or regret our choices later on. And so overthinking is a protective strategy that, is simply our brain trying to keep us safe. And so if you've ever judged yourself negatively for being an overthinker, let's just drop that now. But, okay, very important, but here comes a loving truth. Even though overthinking feels very protective, it actually sometimes steals far more from us than it saves. And once you see, if you feel this is true for you, what it's been costing you, you might find that you don't want to keep on paying that price. So the first cost to overthinking in a negative way, I'm talking about overthinking that's just nonstop ruminating on worst case scenarios and focusing on the negative things as opposed to overthinking positive things all the time. The first cost is time that you will never ever get back. Overeating eats time so quietly, minute by minute. All those thoughts you're having, you're telling yourself, well, I'm just thinking it through. Okay, just taking it really seriously. But before you know it, 20 minutes, 1 hour, a whole evening has gone, and guess what? You still haven't made a decision. You still didn't move forward. You still didn't gain any clarity. You still didn't take action. And so even though overthinking gives this illusion of progress, you're doing something in your brain, it's actually keeping you in the same exact place. And so these are dreams, okay, that you have not lived yet. Not because you couldn't, but because your brain convinced you that thinking about them was the same as working hard towards them. And we all know, it's not the same thing. Okay, so cost number one is time. The second one is your peace. So overthinking doesn't just drain time. We already talked about that. It also drains your peace. It keeps your nervous system on high alert as if every decision is a life or death moment. So I've got to make the right decision because, who knows what's going to happen if I pick the wrong one. And so instead of living your life, you're constantly reviewing it or predicting it, trying to. It doesn't always work. You're replaying things. You're playing that what if game. Should I have done that? Why did I say that? What was I thinking? What were they thinking? And what if something goes wrong? And so your brain becomes it's like a courtroom, and you're both the defendant and the judge. Okay, that is so exhausting, emotionally and physically. Peace cannot exist in your mind if you're constantly preparing for disasters and dangers that have not even happened. Okay, I always say, try to focus just as much on the worst case. I mean, if you're going to be focusing on the worst case scenario, focus just as much on the worst case scenario. Give it equal airtime. Okay, so in addition to time and peace, the third cost is missed moments that were simply meant to be lived. This is the one almost no one talks about, and it's a one that I find hits the hardest. When you are stuck inside your head, okay, deciding what you should do rather than doing it, okay, you're not actively living your life. You are missing out on moments, okay, because you're so busy thinking about a moment that's past, so focused on the past, or you're focused on a moment that hasn't even happened yet in the future, rather than the now, right now, okay? Because stuck in our heads, you want to be getting out of your head. You don't want to be missing out moments with your kids. You don't want to be missing out the moments that are around you, the sunset, the amazing things that are happening when people are truly living life, because you are too busy in your head to truly absorb it. Okay, you miss out the joy of what you did achieve because your mind's already focused on what you're going to be doing next, okay, rather than being in the moment. And so I often find that overthinking steals the presence, the present moment. Except guess what happens in our present moment? Our real life. Our real life is happening moment to moment. The fourth cost, okay, opportunities that needed you to say yes faster. They do exist. Sometimes it does need to be, we've got to decide sooner rather than later. Now, most people don't admit that overthinking actually kills way more dreams than failure ever will. Now, it doesn't kill it because you weren't capable, but because the opportunity needed a version of you who was willing to act before she felt 100% ready. Overthinking is a thing that slows down our yeses. And sometimes, like the door that was open just temporarily doesn't stay open forever. Some paths only reveal themselves when you start walking. Okay, once you've like started moving, then you see those doors, then you see those opportunities. But if you're still stuck at the finish line, planning, weighing, deciding, analyzing, you'll never ever see the paths that lay before you, could have laid before you if you'd simply started walking. The next cost is self-trust. Every time you overthink instead of taking action, a tiny little part of you learns, well, I can't rely on myself to follow through. Okay, why? Because you're not actually taking action. And that is the most expensive cost of all, like how you think about yourself. Because I truly believe that self-trust is the foundation of a fulfilling life. Without it, you're constantly going to be doubting yourself. You're constantly going to be abandoning ideas that you once loved, like thinking that well, there's no way you can do it. And you're always going to be like playing small and staying small to avoid risk. And you're going to be living inside your head instead of like living with your heart. So overthinking keeps your life stuck on pause. But the truth is, you weren't born to just stay stuck in your head. You were meant to go out there and live it. So what is the way forward? Okay, it's not forcing you to stop thinking. It's the opposite. It's learning to think less, like ruminate less on the worst case scenario and trust yourself more. Trust yourself more. Okay, think thoughts that make you feel like you can trust yourself. Tell yourself things like, I have my own back. Okay, I've got this. I'm going to take care of myself. All is going to be well. The way that you speak to yourself is going to determine how you feel when you're taking those actions. You want to feel safe taking those small imperfect steps. Okay, but you've got to practice moving when your mind is still uncertain. You've got to choose to just be present and give it a go, rather than like thinking that you have to predict the outcome ahead of time. You can't. We can't always do that. And we're going to choose to take action even if we are a little bit scared. But knowing that you trust yourself, you've got your own back. So you do it gently but without any pressure. Because your brain truly does need proof that when life gets better, like you're in the game, okay? You're in the game rather than just thinking about it. And the way that you garner that proof, that self-trust, is by actually trying and discovering that you are always going to be able to pick yourself up every single time you fall. Because you will. And so your tiny little experiment for this week, just choose one decision that you've been overthinking. Like it can be big or small. I recommend getting a timer. Set yourself 3 minutes, okay? Give it a time constraint. Just 3 minutes to choose. Now, you don't have to make the perfect choice, just a choice. I always say, okay, what makes a decision the right decision? You just decide it's the right one for you, okay? All of the decisions that you could take could be right for you. Just decide that's true and then act on it, even if in the tiniest, smallest way. Because every time you choose action, even if the tiniest, like little baby step, you're rebuilding that self-trust in you. So if this has spoken to you, I've created a free guide with 5 powerful thought shifts that are going to help you get out of your head and into taking aligned action, but doing it in a way that feels very gentle, zero burnout, zero pressure. And if you want to feel lighter and clearer and more capable moving forward, the link is waiting for you in the description. And so in a nutshell, I always feel like overthinking has taken enough from you, like time and peace and opportunities, moments and self-trust. And we want those things back. I'm sure you do. Now, you do not have to fix this overnight. Okay, awareness is often just the first key. But the way that you do start taking your life back, okay, stop overthinking so much, is to start doing one little grounded, imperfect action at a time. Because I've always said, okay, the overthinking sort of dissipates a little bit when you're actually taking action. So if this has landed with you, if you're a fellow overthinker like me, tell me in the comments what is one tiny area that you're going to be ready to spend less time in your head about and more time actually taking little baby steps. Take care, my friend. Until next time.